Schools train people to be ignorant with style. They give you the equipment that you need to be a functional ignoramus. American schools do not equip you to deal with things like logic. They don't give you the criteria by which to judge between good and bad in any medium or format. And they prepare you to be a usable victim for a military-industrial complex that needs manpower. As long as you're just smart enough to do a job and just dumb enough to swallow what they feed you, you're going to be all right. But if you go beyond that, you're going to have these grave doubts that give you stomach problems, headaches, make you want to go out and do something else. So I believe that schools mechanically and very specifically try and breed out any hint of creative thought in the kids that are coming up.
So what's the alternative for the parent who would agree with you?
Well, remember that the school isn't the only place that a child gets educated. If you realize that the schools are doing damage, and I believe this, I believe that schools do a lot of damage to kids, then you should do what you can at home to help give them something to counteract what's happening to them at school.
You mean encourage creativity?
Encourage them to read things other than what the school gives them. Encourage them to watch things on television other than cartoons, because I don't believe that television is all bad, and some things that are on are very useful. And give them some support. Let them feel that you as a parent want them to be smart, not just to be successful, not just to be a nice little person, that you want them to develop their thinking apparatus.
Bill Gates and other investors are betting Kodama's systems can reduce carbon dioxide in the air by chopping down and burying trees, which has raised $6.6 million in seed funding from Bill Gates' Breakthrough Energy and others. Scientists say burying trees can reduce global warming as well. I don't know where they're finding these scientists, by the way. To help address the problem, the U.S. Forest Services aims to thin out 70 million acres of western forests, mostly in California, over the next decade, extracting more than 1 billion tons of bone-dried biomass. Normally, when you cut down trees, when you're a lumberjack, when you have a lumber company, you're selling the lumber to build houses, people buying from Home Depot or whatever. They're arguing that they want to, rather than sell the timber, take all that wood and just bury it, because they're saying that that is a better solution. And so, in other words, this is a business, because they're getting money to create carbon offsets. And this is what Bill Gates is financing.
For the international order that we have worked for generations to build. Ordinary men and women are too small-minded to govern their own affairs. The order and progress can only come when individuals surrender their rights to an all-powerful sovereign. And for the
reset, it's a great deception. Replacing mum and dad, small businesses and private enterprises with big tech and big business. Democracy and free enterprise go out the window, totalitarian government control slides in through the back door. Those behind this scheme are adamant that there can be and never will be a return to normal, that life will never again be what it was prior to COVID. That is why they constantly talk about the new normal. The World Economic Forum meets every January in Davos. You will have heard of the expression Davos man. It refers to all the zillionaires and pop stars and popes and princes and politicians who meet every year to map out our futures. This year's Davos is very, very different to all the previous ones. The World Economic Forum, along with the United Nations, along with the International Monetary Fund, and along with any number of prominent globalist organizations and powerful individuals, including Prince Charles, together have jointly promised that the 2021 World Economic Forum will be used to introduce, via a vast network of connected big tech corporations, online activist movements and compliant local and national governments, something they call the Great Reset. This isn't some sky after dark fantasy conspiracy theory. It is a global commitment they have made to use the panic and fear generated by the coronavirus as a means to reshape all our economies and laws and move to a new form of capitalism that focuses on net zero emissions. You might think this is a great thing. You might think this is a terrible thing. If implemented successfully, the Great Reset will undeniably and deliberately have extreme and possibly dire repercussions for every single one of your constituents. Already, the Great Reset is being widely advertised on posters and in ads across the UK and Europe, and no doubt will be here before too long. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy is just one of their marketing slogans. The plan involves replacing shareholders of big companies with stakeholders who happen to be left-wing bureaucrats and climate change zealots. Replacing mum and dad small businesses and private enterprises with big tech and big business. Mrs. Kafut's share portfolio is out. Greta Thunberg's zero emissions are in. Democracy and free enterprise go out the window. Totalitarian government control slides in through the back door. But remember, it's not only a great reset, it's a great deception. Because in order to get everyday people to surrender many of the rights and freedoms we currently take for granted, the repeatedly stated aim of these organizations is to deliberately use COVID as an excuse, to use all the political and authoritarian tools, as Prince Charles puts it, that are currently being used around the world to eradicate the virus, such as lockdowns, exclusion zones, forced closure of businesses, heavy fines, making protesting illegal, and so on, but now to eradicate carbon emissions. Those behind this scheme are adamant that there can be and never will be a return to normal, that life will never again be what it was prior to COVID. That is why they constantly talk about the new normal. This is not me saying this. This is them saying it. The people with the power and the means and the obsessional desire to do it. And they keep telling us again and again precisely what they have in store.
Now is the historical moment, the time, not only to fight the real virus, but to shape the system.
We have a unique but rapidly shrinking window of opportunity to learn lessons and reset ourselves on a more sustainable path. It is an opportunity we have never had before and may never have again. So we must use all the levers we have at our disposal, knowing that each and every one of us has a vital role to play.
The Great Reset is a welcome recognition that this human tragedy must be a wake-up call. It is imperative that we reimagine, rebuild, redesign, reinvigorate and rebalance our world. Rebalancing investment, harnessing science and technology, and advancing the transition to net zero emissions, all elements of the Great Reset, are fundamental to building the future we need.
And if it's still not clear, the book written by World Economic Forum boss Klaus Schwab himself, setting out precisely how the most powerful forces in the world are lining up to use the COVID-19 crisis as a pretext for introducing a new climate change-focused one world economy that will strip away property rights and basic democratic rights. They are not hiding this stuff, they are shouting it from the rooftops. The World Economic Forum boasts on its website that the only acceptable response to the COVID crisis is to pursue a great reset of our economies, our politics, and our societies.
Savannah, Georgia is one of the most haunted cities in the United States, and the Freemasons Lodge is the oldest in the Western Hemisphere. And the secrets that were behind these open doors date all the way back to King David and King Solomon. And that's next on the trumpet. Before we were even America in 1734, that was Solomon's Lodge number 1. Oldest continuously operating lodge in the Western Hemisphere. I never really knew my hometown was one of the most haunted cities in the United States. I am not a Freemason, and this place has always been off limits. But the doors were open today, and the people just let me go in and told me I could take all the pictures and videos that I want. He also told me how George Washington sat in that chair right there and delegated over the entire lodge. He also told me a story about how they would vote people out by a process called blackballing.
It's done with, you know when, you ever hear the saying, you've been blackballed? Uh-huh. Well, there's black cubes and white marbles. A white marble means yes, the black cube means no, but some people use black marbles.
Oh, and so that means to be blackballed means to be kicked out or whatever.
Well, no, the answer is no. You've been.
Oh, the answer is no.
Yep. But that's where the term blackball.
When he got finished, I asked him, "Can I check out that big old Bible right there?" I saw this big Bible when I was walking in. Not necessarily a Bible. I don't know.
No, it's just the Bible you go get in church. It's the same Bible. It's a King James Bible.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I do a lot of biblical studies, man. He told me that each degree has a marker in the Bible for the verses that are relevant to it. Why would the Holy Bible be in the middle of the room, open to the chapters of King David and King Solomon? The book of 1 Peter 5:8 says this, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour." My stepfather was a 32nd degree Freemason in this very lodge, and he left me over 40 years of diaries that he recorded of all of the activities of his life. He was 98 years old, and he walked up on Omaha Beach. Me and him had a conversation right before he passed, and what he said to me caused me to become the Christian that I am today, and not in any way affiliated with the Freemasons. Don't worry, I'll let King David and King Solomon do all the talking in part 2.
You can now sell your soul in Fortnite, and this is raising a lot of controversy. So the character's name is actually Mephisto, and the way that you access him is through the underworld part of the map, and in exchange for health, you get gifts. If you sacrifice a small portion of your health, you'll get a gift, and if you sacrifice 99% of your health, you can revive your teammate from the dead. And when you make the exchange, the little animation happens where it looks like a part of you goes to him. People are saying, relax, everyone, it's just a game, and others are saying, don't care, not doing it, and there are 13-year-olds on this game. So what do you think?
So we just landed.
Yeah.
What's your name?
Liz.
Jeremy Lockadale Recovery. We got Global Empowerment Mission here.
It's our handshake. Oh my God.
All right. Well, let's find out where they are. We're gonna get them out of here.
Yes.
And please, any information you get passed to us. We got these amazing guys.
Yeah.
With Special Forces Parachute Team to help fly us around. We're getting people out.
Oh, you guys are incredible.
Awesome.
You're incredible.
This is how legends are made.
This is kind of what we have to do now. The information we're getting is sometimes old. So when we arrive there, we've got very limited air assets. So what we're doing now is we're actually touching now. We're doing link ups with the locals, and we get taken off and go help some people. We got some people here right now.
Up on the victory, it's mine. Show you the harder the battle, harder.
Hey guys, Eric Clare here with Aerial Recovery. We're doing a supply drop for a family out here in Banner Elk. The river has washed out all the bridges, so we're trying to get in contact with the family right now in order to get them to try to at least drive down to this road here on the other side, and then we're going to try to hump these supplies across over here where it's shallow enough. Oh yeah. Just hiked all the way up here to the house. Now we're gonna get a truck or an ATV, get it down by the river, cross the river stuff. We can go. That's it. That's for you. All it is. You have a box? Just the box generators. We'll see if we can fit it all. We appreciate you. Well, that's all. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate you.
I'm not going to pay taxes. And you shouldn't either. Our government has completely crossed the line, and I've had it. We've all had it. How do you do it? How do you go exempt on taxes? Because I see this question a lot. You go to your HR, wherever you work. You go on there, put down 10 or put down exempt. If we all go exempt, I promise you, there is no way that they're coming in and arresting us all. It's not going to happen. It's time that the American people are going to take a stand. If we're not going to be violent, then the least we can do is go exempt on our taxes. Our tax money is no longer going to be going overseas, okay, and making other countries rich. It's no longer going to get funneled through to other countries and then backtracked into politicians' bank accounts privately. Yeah, we're not going to do that anymore. It's either we take a stand in going exempt on our taxes, or it's going to have to go another way. There's no way that we can continue going down this path. They keep poking that bear. So if they want to keep poking the bear, I say a good start for Americans, go exempt on your taxes. Grow some balls. Go exempt on your taxes. It's the middle of the week. Go into your HR office. When you get on your lunch break and you see this video on your For You page, go into your HR on your lunch. And I'm not kidding. Go exempt. Tell them you want to change your taxes around on your paperwork. That's all you got to do. God bless.
I'm going to catch some smoke for this one. But what needs to be said needs to be said. Have y'all noticed how quickly the Democrat Party has now started attacking the black male voter that does not want to support Kamala Harris and now blaming them? If Kamala Harris loses, it's because they didn't want to support a black woman? You know, the fucking audacity. Well, Democrat Party, do you blame them? Look at what you've done. Look at how you've treated them. You called them super predators. You had them locked up with the 95 crime bill. You said that you didn't want your kids growing up in a racial jungle. You said that they were threats to women's safety. Do you blame them for not wanting to be a part of the fucking party that has been demonizing, belittling them, dehumanizing them? There's a lot of individuals now waking up to all that manipulation and deception, and now that they're speaking out about that shit, they're the fucking problem? No. They just seeing through all your fuck shit. And a big shout out to our sisters and everybody that has been standing up for our black brothers out here. Because let's keep it a buck. We know that there's been some fucked up shit that has happened to them. But growing up, I always thought it was the Republicans behind the shit. No, it's fucking Democrats. It's the liberals. Look at the ones speaking hatefully toward our black men out here. Straight up, it's not conservatives or Republicans out here doing this shit. No, it's liberals. It's Democrats. Talking they mad shit about black men who are no longer wanting to be on a mental plantation of the Democrat Party. And you know what? I don't even like doing the whole fucking racial shit. Mainly because it's 2024 and we are all struggling. It doesn't matter what you look like, walk like, talk like, sound like, whatever. It doesn't fucking matter. But as long as the Democrat Party's tactic is to continually target minority men, I'm going to keep calling them out on they fuck shit, whether they like it or not. Don't get mad at the messenger. Go get mad at the people who fucked you over. I said what I said.
Whatever you think you know about Western North Carolina and what's going on over there, you're wrong, unless you're there. I've debated on if I even wanted to make this video because I don't really want to start a bunch of conspiracy theories or anything like that, but I do feel like word needs to get out about what is actually happening that news is not covering. So here's the facts. I have been assisting with running missions and dispatch for an operations team there for the last week. And last week I was assisting running those missions in Ashe County. I've been in Swannanoa this week, and we've been running 70 missions a day, getting help to these people that are not being helped right now. So when I tell you this is firsthand knowledge, this is firsthand knowledge. The death toll of 200 or 200-ish is what's being reported right now. That's not accurate. My organization sent out 10,000 body bags to local authorities this week, and they're requesting more. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that all 10,000 of those has been used, but it does mean that they're finding a need, and that they're thinking that they're going to need more. I will tell you, we've spoken to some of the funeral homes and refrigeration truck companies that have been brought in, and there's, 1,000 in this town, 800 in this town, 500 in this town, and we're finding more bodies every day. This is an ongoing process. My team has cadaver dogs that have been going out. We have med teams that are going out. It's not only deaths from the storm, but deaths since the storm. There's a huge need, particularly in our Hispanic communities. A lot of them are scared. There's Border Patrol trucks driving around, and they're scared to ask for help. We've lost 2 Hispanic children to hypothermia in our community this week because they didn't know that help was out there for them, and they don't know who to trust. So the devastation in this area is beyond what anything that I've ever seen before. It's beyond what anybody that has lived it has seen before. We're talking to survivors that rode their house a mile down the river. We're talking to people that sat there and told us about 40-foot walls of water looking like tsunamis coming through these towns, that have never seen anything like this, and they've lived there their entire lives. Elderly people are sitting here telling me that they rode their house down the river. Again, I don't want to get into conspiracy theories or anything crazy, but as someone who has been there and been out there since basically the beginning, when this first started, I've spent 2 weeks in various locations, and it's bad. The infrastructure is gone. They're talking about months before power is restored. We're going into winter. These people have no power. Their houses are unlivable. They're covered in mold, mildew. Everything's falling apart. They're sleeping in tents. They're sleeping on their porches. I mean, they're help is coming, but it's hard when there's tens of thousands of people in these small towns that are being forgotten about. And we're doing our best to help them. We have spent all week delivering heaters and propane and cook stoves and blankets and sleeping bags and hot meals, and taking these people. We have shower trucks that we're taking them to, shuttling them back and forth. We've been fixing people's driveways. We have large equipment crews out. We have chainsaw crews out, cutting trees off of people's houses, getting their roofs tarped up for them. The community is out here, and we are doing good things, and we are helping them, but the need is so high, and it will be for months, and I'm worried that people are going to forget about North Carolina, especially with everything that just happened in Florida. But this is not something that's going to stop next week. And you're hearing about supply warehouses that are full. That's a good thing, because these supplies are going to be needed for months and months and months, and donations are going to stop coming in. So yes, we're stockpiling a little bit, but we're also running out of things. I mean, when we have a ton of food and water, that's great, and people need that, and we're passing it out, and it's going to use. But we need generators, we need diesel, we need off-road diesel, we need fuel, we need propane, we need kerosene, we need propane heaters, kerosene heaters, we need socks, we need sleeping bags, we need medications. There's a huge list of things that these people still need, and they're not being donated. So if you're looking for a way to help out, and I can get you in touch with that, you can send it directly to us, Jack Stables. We have a fund that is going directly toward the relief out here. But mainly, I want to get information out to the public about what's going on out here from someone who has been there firsthand, on the ground, boots on the ground, and has seen it. And you're probably not going to watch this far into the video anyway, but they need help. They need our help. And I don't know why the news is not covering this in an accurate way. And I don't, like I said, I don't want to get into any crazy theories or anything, but these are just the facts. You can draw your own conclusions. And if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them for you. Like I said, we're out in Swannanoa. We're running a huge ops team out there. I've been in charge of their dispatch for all of the operations. All the leads are coming into me. I'm vetting them. I'm running a lot of recon. I'm working from home for the next 2 days, and I'm probably going to be going back out this week to assist them, because this is something that's going to be going on for months, and I plan to help them until that community is rebuilt and they no longer need me. So, yeah, that's your Western North Carolina update. And if you guys can help out in any way, thoughts, prayers, donations, we have an Amazon list, there's a GoFundMe, or you can, like I said, you can Venmo it directly to us, and we will make sure that it gets where it needs to go.
The biggest money laundering case in U.S. history just settled, so it seems like a good time to remind us all about Jeffrey Epstein and what it means. So TD Bank pled guilty, and they're paying a $3 billion fine, which is probably less than they made from doing this. They were laundering money for all sorts of drug traffickers, including a whole bunch of fentanyl money. Check this caption here. TD failed to monitor over $18 trillion in customer activity for about a decade. Employees actually joked in their internal messaging services about how their motto is America's most convenient bank, and they joked about how it was America's most convenient bank for criminals. I mean, just last year, TD Bank had to pay $1.2 billion for their role in enabling Alan Stanford's Ponzi scheme, maybe the second biggest Ponzi scheme in American history after Bernie Madoff. So this is from Attorney General Merrick Garland's official statement. Over the course of a 3-year period, a person within the bank employees knew as David moved over $470 million in illicit funds through TD Bank branches in the United States. So there's 3 specific counts that Merrick Garland elaborates on, and the first one is this David guy. Because, you know, when you're moving $470 million in and out of weird bank accounts, first names is really all you need to know. David's illegal conduct was obvious, to say the least. On more than one occasion, he deposited more than $1 million in cash in a single day and then immediately moved the funds out of the bank using official bank checks and wire transfers. Lower-level TD Bank employees were like raising red flags all over the place. One in 2020 said, quote, "It's getting out of hand and my tellers are at the point that they don't feel comfortable handling these transactions." Another employee in 2021 said, quote, "How is that not money laundering?" A back office employee responded, "Oh, it 100% is." This is in their like internal official like messaging app service that is all on record. The second money laundering scheme that Garland lays out is 5 TD Bank employees conspired with criminal organizations to open and maintain accounts at the bank that were used to launder $39 million to Colombia, including drug proceeds. In yet a third scheme outlined in today's charges, a money laundering network maintained accounts at TD Bank for at least 5 shell companies. It used those accounts to move over $100 million in illicit funds through the bank. Again, internal chatter knew what was going on. For example, a compliance employee asked a colleague, "Why all the really awful ones bank here, lol?" A colleague replied, "Because we are convenient." But this is not unique to TD Bank. Just last year, Deutsche Bank was fined $186 million for basically doing the same thing, not taking any steps to counter money laundering and allowing criminal organizations to launder money through their banking services. In 2020, the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists broke a massive story about this. The records show that 5 global banks, JP Morgan, HSBC, Standard Chartered Bank, Deutsche Bank, and Bank of New York Mellon, notice they don't even include TD Bank, kept profiting from powerful and dangerous players even after U.S. authorities fined these financial institutions for earlier failures to stem the flows of dirty money. This massive report that they're referencing here, it noted $2 trillion in suspicious transactions identified within their set of documents, but it's just a drop in the far larger flood of dirty money gushing through. The FinCEN files, which is like the files they're referring to, represented less than 0.02% of the more than 12 million suspicious activity reports that financial institutions filed within the FinCEN between 11 and 2017. So just I'm not a mathematician, you're about to know that for sure. But if $2 trillion worth of transactions is only 0.02% of the pool, then someone help me out here. $2 trillion divided by 0.02% equals 10 quadrillion? But when you ask the internet to just double check that in words, it tells you it's 1 quadrillion. It's a lot of money represented by all of these shady transactions. Again, I am no mathematician. I've been out of school for a while. What I'm trying to say is there's a ton of money flowing through transactions that are flagged as suspicious all the time at all the biggest financial institutions, and they're all turning blind eyes to it every day. And just so you know, ICIJ, these guys are like the gold standard of journalism. Read the yellow there and read the yellow down here if you want to know how real journalism gets done. I'm not like these guys. I'm just a TikToker that hopefully reports as accurately as possible on the real journalism that guys like this do. It goes on and on, like forever. 2012, HSBC, $881 million for Latin American drug cartel. In half of these suspicious transactions, banks didn't have information about one or more of the entities behind the transactions. At least 20% of the reports contained a client with an address in one of the world's top offshore financial havens, meaning they didn't really know where this money was going or where it was coming from, depending on the instance. And again, these banks are doing this despite repeatedly being fined by the government and told by the government, don't you bad banks. And then the banks like JP Morgan, for example, back in 11, 13, and 14 are like, oh, sorry, we'll never do that again. But meanwhile, what was JP Morgan doing back in 2011, 13, and 14? Well, they were busy stopping laundering Jeffrey Epstein's money directly because he was kind of taking some heat. And then they just, rather than actually cut ties with him, they stopped handling his money directly and they kept on receiving his referrals of high net worth individuals. And this piece of reporting gets passed over all the time. I've talked about this before, but like Bill Gates, Sergey Brin, these guys are not getting referred to JP Morgan for their legitimate banking services. This is like I know a guy who knows a guy referral. He's referring them to the back door of the big bank where they are getting the not so above board money services, like money laundering, like money hiding, like Lord knows what. I mean, think about it. If you're getting a referral from Jeffrey about money services, you're getting a referral for the kind of things that Jeffrey is a pro at. And once again, once the bank cut like financial ties with Jeffrey Epstein and they closed all of his accounts, they continued to meet with him for years. Banker Justin Nelson had about a half dozen meetings at Jeffrey Epstein's townhouse between 2014 and 2017. Bank employees also met with Epstein after his accounts were closed to discuss other clients and introductions he could make to potential clients, the newspaper said. Hell, one of those clients, no later than 2019, was former Obama White House counsel Catherine Ruemmler. The following is a quote directly from evidence in a court trial. This was sent from Jeffrey's assistant to the bank. Quote, Jeffrey wanted me to reach out to you, his very good friend and former White House counsel to President Barack Obama, Kathy Ruemmler, his assistant wrote in the email. Quote, she would like to open an account with JPM. Jeffrey requests she deal with you personally. Might this be possible? I wonder why she couldn't just go in the front door and open a bank account like everybody else. And while I was just kind of checking in on who we're talking about here, I couldn't help but notice that she was named to the FINRA Board of Governors in 2021 after this whole thing. If you're not familiar with FINRA, they are the self-regulatory private corporation made of all of the bankers that is supposed to regulate the securities market, like, the stock exchange. So it's like, we know that it's all above board. And shout out archive.org, who at least has the Wayback Machine back online now, even though they've been under attack thoroughly for, a couple of weeks now, I think. But at least the Wayback is back on. And she was on the board of FINRA in 2022. She was on the board of FINRA still in April of 2023. And then she disappeared from their site sometime before February of this year. So end of last year, beginning of this year is when she left the board of FINRA, presumably. Which is interesting, because this article was published August 18th, 2023, so maybe that's just a coincidence. But anyways, if you're not getting the picture by now, the black market is just as big as the white market. The illegal crime networks that rule our world rule our world. And so money laundering is just as important of a banking service as regular money services. And the banks are making probably dang near as much money in the black and gray markets as they are in the lit markets. So just remember, you're ruled by criminals, you're governed by criminals, you're given a credit score by these criminals, and then you're lectured on the news by these criminals. But you better stop eating cows, because that is so bad for the environment, you filthy little peasant. You're gonna ruin the Amazon rainforest.